Hi, 5th grade. We are on chapter 27, which is on page 202. The next day after Bible school, Wishbone and I were sitting out front while Gus worked in the garden. Tiny wrens and sparrows hopped around the yard and fluttered up to the bird feeder on the fence post. After a while, Bertha came out with a couple of cats trailing along behind her. She smelled the lavender, and I couldn't help but notice how much she looked like Mama, with her hair curling around her face and her eyes crinkled up at the edges. I figured she was going to tell me a story about some lady in her knitting group or something, but she said, "I found that note." My stomach squeezed up, and I felt kind of scared for a minute. That note in your lunchbox?" she said. Well, what in the world could I say now? I felt like a big dumb baby for writing that note. I wanted Bertha to go away. I did not want to talk about that note. But Bertha did not go away. She sat petting the cat, purring in her lap, and gazing out at Gus weeding in the garden. And then she said, "You know, Charlie, me and Gus always wanted children." She rubbed Wishbone's belly with her bare foot. "We have had many blessings in our lives together, but having children has not been one of them." So, I watched her foot rubbing Wishbone and waited. "Well," she said, "I guess I'm just not too good at doing things that mothers do." My heart sank and I scrambled to think of something to say, but I couldn't. "When I saw that note, I wanted to kick myself," she went on. "How come I didn't think how much a little girl would love a note like that in her lunchbox? I wished like anything I had thought to do that, but I didn't, just like I didn't know how the silly rainbow lunchbox was." And then there was her hand on my knee. It was dark and tan from hours in the sun, fingernails rough and dirty from pulling weeds in the garden. "So I hope you'll be patient with me while I learn," she said. I hung my head and nodded. I should have said something nice to her. I should have said, "Oh, don't worry about it. That rainbow lunchbox was no big deal." I should have said, "I don't even care about that dumb note." But the truth was, all I could do was sit there, feeling her warm hand, breathing her lavender smell. "Let's go help Gus," she said. So the three of us pulled weeds and picked beans and pinched dead flowers off the marigolds.
Do you want to come into my room and have a show?
Okay.
I'm going to do something really cool.
Okay.
But try to be quick. I'm really itchy.
Okay, go. I'm ready. Thank you. "Let's go help Gus," she said. So the three of us pulled weeds and picked beans and pinched dead flowers off the marigolds. Wishbone sat outside the gate and wanted to get in, but he wasn't allowed because he was digging. When we were done, we climbed into Gus's car and picked up Howard before heading down the mountain to get ice cream. Wishbone stuck his head out the window, his ears flapping like crazy in the wind, while me and Howard sang Bible school songs. Every once in a while, we passed a clearing with a view of the mountains stretched out as far as you could see. A smoky blue haze floated over the treetops. It reminded me of my first day in Colby, when Gus had told me why these are called the Blue Ridge Mountains. Sometimes it felt like just yesterday that I'd sat on the school bus with all those kids I didn't know, riding through this town and thinking every laundromat and trailer park and shabby little house along the way was the sorriest thing I'd ever seen. But now here I was singing Bible school songs with my friend Howard, and my arms wrapped around my very own dog. And when I looked out the now familiar sights of Colby, I realized I didn't seem to look quite so sorry anymore. Bertha chattered away in the front seat the whole way down to town while Gus nodded silently. We got ice cream at the Dairy Freeze and sat at a picnic table trying to eat it quick before the summer's heat made it run down our cones and drip onto our laps. Bertha scooped a little bit into a paper cup for Wishbone, and Howard let him have the last bite of his cone. On the way home, me and Howard taught Gus and Bertha some of our Bible songs. And then the best thing happened. I saw a yellow railroad car. That was on my list of things to wish on, thanks to Fulton Banner, a crazy old man who lived next to us in Raleigh. "Yellow railroad cars aren't too plentiful," he told me. "When you see one, make a wish." For a minute, I thought I might not even bother making a wish. Maybe I was just wasting my time. But then something inside me told me not to give up and to keep on trying. I mean, you never know, right? So I looked back at the yellow railroad car as we passed it and made my wish. All right, I'll be back. Bye-bye.